So in today's video, she's going to be talking about women paying for dates. Let's see what she has to say, and I'm going to give my thoughts as we go through the video.
So the other day, I posted this video about the difficulty that a lot of women have, especially my age, which navigating through dating, and the barriers that we see that are there, that is kind of like causing us not to be able to find a mate. And I was reading the comments, and I went on another post, and I was reading some of the comments on the other post, and then I went live with my brother Lewis and listening and to him and reading some of the comments that were under his post. I'm just perplexed at the fact that women are out here paying for dates, and a lot of women are out here paying for first dates. So I'm trying to understand, is the expectation that a woman is supposed to pay for dates after a man pays for so many dates? Or is it just expected that, you know, people should just go 50-50, or you pay for this date, I pay for that date? Never done any of that, don't plan to do any of that. And if that means I'm going to be single, that's what I'm going to do, be single. Because
oh, there you have it. And I always like to say, right, before we go back to what she has to say, often the solution is right in front of you. And you heard her say it. Well, if these are the kind of situations that are out there, then I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, and I'm going to keep getting the result I'm getting. So you have to think about it from this perspective. If you want something different than what you're getting right now, a lot of the time that normally means you have to do something different, because what you're doing right now isn't working. So I always say, right, you're not going to hear me say anything different other than I truly believe that a man is supposed to provide for not only his wife, but also for his whole household, right? But in the process to get there, in the process of finding a spouse that you can spend life with, that you can build something great together with, right? You're going to go through different scenarios, and this is important. I'll give you a fun story, right? So I'm obviously, my wife and I now, we're married, we have 6 children, but I remember the first time we went out. I remember it, right? It was my best friend, it was me and her. And I don't necessarily say it as a date. I look at it like it was a Christian date, right? In that sense, like to a certain degree, because we didn't say we're going out on a date, but my best friend came along, and he was like, just in simple terms, the chaperone. And I remember thinking to myself, I was like, we went to the cinema, I went to the movies. I was like, I'm not going to pay for her. I'm going to let her pay for herself. I'm going to pay for myself. I'm going to see how she reacts. That was my thought process. Not because I couldn't pay for her, but because I wanted to see, is she someone who's potentially interested in building something together, or is she just focused on taking? Is she just focused on an expectation? So she paid for herself, I paid for myself, my best friend paid for himself, and as they say, the rest is history. 6 children later, married for over 12 years. I think that one decision is one example of the things that you need to do in order to see if this is something which can actually work long term. It was never about the money in that situation. It was about, like I said, seeing, is this a woman who may have expectations? Oh, he better pay for me. Oh, he needs to pay for me. Not necessarily getting those expectations and still saying, you know what, I'm still moving forward. You see, I say this all the time. I want to say it again, right? I give my wife a lot of game from a man's perspective for her to pass on to a lot of her friends and whoever, right? Because at the end of the day, like I always just say to myself, like, I want women to succeed. I want men to succeed. And I understand that men and women succeed at the best of their abilities when they're together. So in order for them to get together, the man has to do what he needs to do, and the woman needs to do what they need to do. But as we can see with this woman, she's an elderly woman, a more older woman, and she is not where she wants to be right now. And she's going to stay where she is right now for as long as possible as she continues to do this sort of stuff. You see, the older you get, the less time you have, typically speaking. So what that means is You can't afford to keep making the same mistakes that she probably made 20 years ago, 30 years ago, maybe, and she's still making now. Right? When you come to a relationship, people have to compromise in their own way. Now, think about it like this, right? A woman, for example, these are the compromises, and I'll give you an example. A woman, for example, has to compromise to the point where she realizes she is not the leader. The husband is going to be the leader. The husband is going to be the one who's going to be guiding the whole household forward in matters of God and also in matters of everything else, because that's how God desires it to be. A man, when he enters into a covenant with a woman, he's saying, look, I'm not going to be wasting time trying to marry other women at the same time, because he should be wise enough to know that this is only going to cause drama in the long term. You've got all of the Bible to see that everybody who had some sort of polygamous relationship ended up in major drama. Those are the sorts of compromises I'm talking about, right? You don't compromise on truth, you don't compromise on right and wrong, but there's areas in life where you may have to give certain stuff up in order for the team to come together and prosper, succeed. This is what a lot of people don't understand. And this woman clearly doesn't understand, because I'm sure she probably would think, if she heard a story of a guy saying, you know what, I'm not going to pay on the first date. I'm just going to see what she does. I'm going to see how she acts. I'm going to see if the amount it costs for us to go on a date is enough for us to get into a major conflict over. I'm going to see if this is going to cause her to ghost me. There's so much you can learn from those early interactions, from early conversations, hearing people speak. Because a lot of the time when people speak, they tell you so much stuff about them without even saying the stuff necessarily. So when she was saying, well, she's going to stay single, these are the kind of things which men listen to and look at, and they're like, okay, yeah, this is why you're clearly single, and I'm going to stay single. Because you think that this is all about what you think and what you want to do. And most men worth their weight in salt aren't going to entertain this for a long period in time. They're just going to be like, well, this woman is a rebellious woman. She doesn't really want to build something together. She wants to be the king of the castle, even though she's supposed to be the queen of the castle. And they're going to pass. Let's keep going.
I believe that a man is supposed to pursue a woman when in the courting stage. So courting to me means that you are actively trying to pursue me as your woman. So with that being said, that means you're taking me out on dates, you're spending time with me, there are conversations taking place. You know, we're getting to know each other.
See, you know the problem here? The problem started with the first words. I believe. Listen, men don't care about what you believe. Men care about what is true. And I'm specifically talking about good men. So she believes she should be courted, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? Yes, men typically are the ones that go out and pursue women, but that doesn't necessarily now follow and turn into he's always going to be spending money on her. Because, for example, the example I gave from the first date or the first interaction of us going out, right? Men have things they think about. Men understand that women can act a certain way. Women can be a certain way. Women can think certain things. And it's about seeing how a woman is going to act in those sorts of circumstances. I'll give you an example, right? And women do this all the time as well. So imagine you're walking down the road, right, with a man, and there's an attractive woman walking down, or let's not say an attractive woman, forget about it, a different example. There's a woman who's walking down the road and she's going to pass you and she's wearing scanty clothes. You don't think that a lot of women in those scenarios are looking at their man and they're trying to see, is he going to take a sneak peek? Is he going to look? Is his neck going to be cranking? Of course. They want to see what kind of guy he is in those situations. Is he going to look at the floor? Is he going to look in the other direction? All this different kind of stuff. So women do it. Women do that sort of stuff. Men do that sort of stuff too. So I'm telling you, that is the kind of thing a man would do. A thing that a man would do is say, well, look, maybe I don't pay for this date. Maybe we just go 50-50. And then we see how she's going to respond. Is she going to start acting crazy and show all these red flags which show us, okay, yeah, maybe let's go somewhere else. Let's not do this. This is not the kind of person I can build a life with. It's not the kind of person I want to be the mother of my children. And the crazy thing is, there's nothing wrong with women doing the reverse, because they should. They should be analyzing men. Is he just speaking disrespectfully to me? Is he disrespectful when he speaks to his parents? Is like, how does he interact with his siblings? These are all things which we should all be analyzing. If you want the best scenario, you have to do the work to position yourself, and when you're in those positions, to be ready to strike when the iron's hot, and to be able to say, okay, you know what, I'm gonna pass on this one.
And in the process of getting to know a person, you're taking them out. Now, every date does not have to have a dollar sign attached to it. Hell, you could say, hey, take me, let's go to the bell line and let's go walking, you know, or hey, let's go to the gym, let's go work out together. Anything. You could be creative with your dates. And I think a lot of men, they get caught up with.
How many men are going to be creative and run into a woman who's going to start insulting him either to his face or behind his back to her friend, saying, oh, he's cheap, he's XYZ?
The fact that they always trying to think that women are gold diggers, or, you know, and half of y'all ain't got no damn gold to be digging from. So I don't even know where you get that from. But anyway,
because it's not just about the gold that they don't have. It's about the gold in a man's mind that he's thinking, I'm going to be building something which is going to produce gold in the future. That's how a man thinks. So when a man is thinking about this stuff, when he's looking at a woman and he's like, she's just a money pit. She just wants to consume and consume and consume. She doesn't want to think about how we can work together, how she can help him, help meet, right? She can help him fulfill the call that God has on his life, to be a husband, to be a father, to be successful in whatever his endeavors is, whether it's business or whatever it is. She's thinking about, he has to take me out and he has to spend money on me and all these different kind of things. How many times did she talk about building a family, being a good wife, being faithful, any of the things that a man would be interested in? That's the reason why he's going to stay single.
My theory is, if you are concerned about the cost of dating, then I think that people should date within their tax bracket. That means that if you meet a woman and you know this woman is used to traveling, used to going out to dinner, used to doing all these nice things that are costly, and that's not something that you can afford right now, then one, you wait until you get your money up, or two, find somebody that you can date within the means of what you're accustomed to. You know, don't come in somebody's life and want them to change their taste just because it's something that you can't do. And that's why I think so many men get upset, because they want these certain type of women when the requirement for these women's, you know, up here.
What's so funny about this is women probably do this more than men. They see a guy who's out of their financial bracket and they're like, hey, pull me up, pull me up, pull me up. Let me come up there. And she's saying they shouldn't do this. What's crazy about this is she seems to me like the kind of person that likes to travel and likes to spend money. And it seems like there's a lot of men out there who maybe she's interacted with who have been like, no, you're a money pit. And this is the thing. I can agree with what she's saying to a certain degree. If a woman makes a nice living, right, and she's not spending all this money on credit, right, if she's not running up credit cards and getting into debt to fund that sort of lifestyle, that's a different scenario. But we already know that most people, men and women, are up to their eye sockets in debt. So in that situation, if a guy's coming into a scenario and he's like, look, you're spending way too much money, he can obviously see that, you know what, you're consumed in debt. We're not going to continue to jump into debt just to please you and to say, yeah, we're going to go on holiday here and we're going to spend this. And no, we need to stop the financial bleeding. We need to stop being financially stupid. and we need to start being financially wise and transform our finances so we can have a much better, much longer successful marriage, and not end like most of the marriages ending today, which is something to do with finance related. This is very simple if you want it to be simple, and it can be very difficult if you want it to be difficult. Guys, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to like it, and as always, don't forget to react righteously. And if you want to know how one way you can do to get your money up, click the link in the description box. It will show you exactly how to do it with your own unique skills, hobbies, and expertise. God bless.